My wife was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease 2 years ago. She's been declining steadily. Memory loss, confusion. Sometimes she doesn't recognize me. Last week, she had what the doctor called a moment of clarity. Suddenly, she was lucid, sharp, like her old self. She looked at me and said we needed to talk, that she had to tell me something before she forgot again, before the disease took it away permanently. She said our son didn't die in the car accident in 1994, that he was alive, that I'd been visiting him every month for 30 years at a psychiatric hospital, that I'd paid for his care, that I'd kept him secret from her, that she'd found out years ago by following me. She said she'd kept my secret. Now the dementia was taking her memory and she needed me to know she knew. Then the clarity faded. She looked at me confused, asked who I was, but what she'd said was true. Every word. My wife's name is Dorothy. We've been married for 48 years. She's 73 years old. I'm 72. We met in college, got married young, had our son Michael in 1975. He was our only child. We'd wanted more, but it never happened. So Michael was everything to us. Our whole world, our future, our hope. Michael died in 1994. That's what I told Dorothy. That's what I told everyone. Car accident, late at night, wet roads. He lost control, went off an embankment. The car caught fire. Michael died at the scene. He was 19 years old, a sophomore at Ohio State, studying engineering, had his whole life ahead of him. Then one night in November, he was gone. That's the story Dorothy believed for 30 years. That's the story I told her. That's the story everyone knew, but it wasn't true. Michael didn't die in 1994. He's alive. He's been alive this whole time, living in a psychiatric hospital 60 miles from our home. And I've been visiting him once a month for 3 decades without Dorothy ever knowing. The moment of clarity happened last Tuesday. Dorothy has been living in a memory care facility for 6 months. Her Alzheimer's had progressed to the point where I couldn't take care of her at home anymore. She needed professional care, 24-hour supervision. I hated putting her there, felt like I was abandoning her, but I couldn't keep her safe anymore. Couldn't manage her wandering and confusion, couldn't watch her disappear piece by piece while trying to pretend everything was normal. I visit Dorothy every day, spend a few hours with her. Sometimes she knows me, calls me Russell, talks about our life together, remembers things from decades ago with perfect clarity while forgetting what happened 5 minutes ago. Other days, she doesn't know me at all, thinks I'm a stranger, gets scared when I try to hold her hand, asks the nurses to make me leave. Those days are hardest, seeing the woman I love look at me with no recognition, like I'm nobody, like our 48 years together never happened. Last Tuesday was a good day. When I arrived, Dorothy smiled, said my name. We sat together in her room. I told her about my morning, about the weather, about a neighbor who'd asked about her. Normal conversation. Dorothy seemed present, engaged, more herself than she'd been in weeks. Then something changed. Dorothy's expression shifted. Her eyes focused, really focused. She looked at me with intensity I hadn't seen in months. She said, "Russell, I need to tell you something, before I lose it again, before I forget. I need you to know that I know." I asked what she was talking about. She said, "Michael, our son." She said, "I know he didn't die. I know you've been visiting him. I know where he is. I've known for years, since 2009, 15 years. I followed you one day, saw you go to Riverside Psychiatric Hospital, saw you sign in, saw you go to his unit. I know you've been keeping him secret. I know you lied about him dying. I know everything." I sat there frozen. Dorothy had never said anything, never indicated she knew. For 15 years, she'd been carrying this knowledge, never confronting me, never asking questions, just knowing, just living with it. While I thought I was protecting her, while I thought my secret was safe, Dorothy kept talking. She said, "I understood why you did it, why you told me he died. I was angry at first, furious, but then I understood. You were protecting me, protecting us. Michael was dangerous. What he did was terrible. You thought if I knew he was alive, I'd want to see him, want to help him, and you didn't think I should. You thought it was better if I believed he was dead, better if I grieved him and moved on." Her words were clear, coherent. She was explaining back to me my own reasoning, my own thoughts from 30 years ago. How did she understand it so well? How long had she been thinking about this? How many years had she spent trying to make sense of why I'd lied to her about our son? Dorothy said, "But Russell, you should have told me, should have trusted me, should have let me decide whether to see him. He's my son too. I had a right to know he was alive. You took that from me. You took away 15 years I could have had with him, even if he was sick, even if he was dangerous. He was my child. I deserved to know. Then she started crying. Real tears, deep grief. She said, "I'm losing my memory now, losing everything. Soon I won't remember any of this. Won't remember Michael. Won't remember you. Won't remember our life together. The disease is taking it all. But before it does, I needed you to know that I knew, that I figured it out, that you didn't fool me, that I've been living with your lie for 15 years, that I've been pretending not to know while watching you carry this burden alone." I tried to respond, tried to explain, tried to tell her she was confused, that Michael had died, that she was having a delusion. But Dorothy cut me off. She said, "Don't lie to me anymore, Russell. Not now. Not when I might not remember this conversation tomorrow. Give me this one moment of truth. Admit it. Admit Michael is alive. Admit you've been seeing him. Admit you lied to me for 30 years. So I admitted it. I said yes. Yes, Michael is alive. Yes, I've been visiting him. Yes, I lied about him dying. Yes, I've been keeping this secret for 3 decades. I said it all, watching Dorothy's face as I finally told her the truth I'd been hiding since 1994. Dorothy nodded, like she'd expected it, like she'd needed to hear me say it, but wasn't surprised. She said, "Thank you. Thank you for finally being honest." Then she looked at me with such sadness. She said, "I love you, Russell. I've always loved you. Even knowing you lied to me, even being angry about it. I understood why you did it. I forgave you years ago. I just needed you to know that I knew, before I forget everything. I needed this moment." Then her eyes changed. The clarity faded. The sharpness dulled. Dorothy looked at me confused. She said, "Who are you? Why are you in my room?" She didn't recognize me anymore. The moment was over. The disease had taken her back. She was gone again. I called for the nurse, explained what had happened. The nurse said moments of clarity were rare, but not unheard of with Alzheimer's patients. Sometimes something in the brain fires correctly. Connections are made. Memories surface. The person is briefly themselves again. Then it passes. The disease reasserts itself. The clarity disappears. The nurse said Dorothy probably wouldn't remember the conversation, probably wouldn't have another moment like that. The disease was too advanced. This had likely been the last time Dorothy would be fully present. I went home in shock. Dorothy had known for 15 years, had been carrying my secret while I thought I was protecting her, had figured out where Michael was, had been living with the knowledge that I'd lied about our son's death. And she'd never said anything, never confronted me, just kept my secret while I kept mine. I needed to understand, needed to know how she'd found out, what she'd discovered, how long she'd actually known. Dorothy said she'd followed me in 2009. That was 15 years ago, but maybe she'd known longer. Maybe she'd found out earlier and only confirmed it by following me. I needed to know. I went through Dorothy's things, the belongings she'd had at home before moving to the care facility, her desk, her closet, her personal papers, looking for evidence, for something that would explain how she'd discovered the truth, for documentation of what she knew and when she knew it. I found it in a box in her closet, a journal, Dorothy's handwriting, started in 2009, just like she'd said. The first entry was dated March 12th, 2009. It said, "I followed Russell today. I've been suspicious for months. He leaves every 3rd Saturday. Says he's going to visit his brother in Cleveland, but his brother called last week asking when Russell was coming to visit. Russell hasn't been going to Cleveland, so where has he been going?" The entry continued. "I followed him today, stayed far back. He drove to Riverside Psychiatric Hospital. It's about 60 miles from here. I've never heard of it, never had any reason to know it existed. Russell parked, went inside. I waited 20 minutes, then went in myself, asked the receptionist about visiting. She asked who I was there to see. I said I wasn't sure, that my husband had come to visit someone and I was trying to find him. She looked at the sign-in sheet, said Russell Holland had signed in to visit Michael Holland. Michael Holland, our son, our dead son, except apparently he isn't dead. I sat reading Dorothy's journal, with tears running down my face. She'd found out exactly the way she'd described, had followed me, had discovered Michael was alive, had learned in one day what I'd been hiding for 15 years at that point. The shock she must have felt, the betrayal, the confusion, learning her son was alive, that I'd been lying about his death, that I'd been visiting him secretly for years. The journal continued. Dorothy had spent weeks processing what she'd discovered. She'd driven back to the hospital, had tried to visit Michael herself, but the hospital wouldn't let her. Michael's records showed that only I was authorized to visit. Dorothy wasn't on the approved list. She'd argued, said she was his mother. The hospital said they understood, but they had their policies. Only approved visitors. Dorothy would need Michael's permission or a court order. Since Michael wasn't capable of giving permission, she'd need me to add her to the list, which meant she'd have to confront me, have to admit she knew. She wasn't ready for that yet. Instead, Dorothy had done research, found out about Riverside Psychiatric Hospital. It was a long-term facility for criminally insane patients, people who'd committed crimes but been found not guilty by reason of insanity, people too dangerous for regular psychiatric care but too mentally ill for prison, maximum security, treatment-focused. People stayed there for years, decades, sometimes their whole lives. Dorothy had requested public records about Michael's case. It took months, but she eventually got them. The records showed that Michael had been committed to Riverside in November 1994. The same month I'd told Dorothy he died in a car accident. He'd been 19 years old. The commitment was the result of a criminal case. Michael had attacked someone, a young woman, a college student. He'd hurt her badly, nearly killed her. The records showed Michael had been experiencing his first psychotic break. Schizophrenia, undiagnosed, untreated. He'd been having delusions, hallucinations. The attack had happened during a severe episode. He'd thought the woman was trying to hurt him, thought he was defending himself, but he'd been completely delusional. She'd been an innocent stranger. He'd nearly beaten her to death. Michael had been arrested, charged with attempted murder, but psychiatric evaluation showed he was severely mentally ill, not competent to stand trial. He'd been found not guilty by reason of insanity, committed indefinitely to Riverside Psychiatric Hospital, would stay there until doctors determined he was no longer a danger, which might be never. Schizophrenia was treatable, but not curable. Michael would need medication and supervision for life, might never be safe to release. Dorothy's journal showed she'd learned all of this through public records, had pieced together what happened, why I'd told her Michael was dead, why I'd been visiting him secretly. She'd understood my reasoning even while being furious about the lies. The journal entries continued for years, Dorothy processing her feelings, sometimes angry at me for lying, sometimes understanding why I did it, sometimes grieving Michael all over again, grieving the loss of who he'd been, the potential he'd had, the future that was taken away. She'd already grieved him once when I told her he died. Now she had to grieve him again, knowing he was alive, but lost in a different way. Dorothy had written about wanting to visit Michael, wanting to see her son, even if he was sick, even if he was dangerous. He was her child. She'd carried him, raised him, loved him for 19 years. The fact that he'd become ill and done something terrible didn't erase that. She wanted to see him, but she couldn't without confronting me, without admitting she knew. And she wasn't ready for that conversation. The journal showed Dorothy had been planning to talk to me, had been working up the courage. But then months passed, then years. The longer she waited, the harder it became. How do you confront your husband about lying for 20 years? How do you start that conversation? Dorothy kept postponing, kept waiting for the right time, a time that never came. Then, in 2017, Dorothy had started forgetting things, small things at first, where she'd put her keys, appointments she'd made, names of people she'd known for years. We'd thought it was normal aging, but it got worse, more frequent, more significant. By 2019, we knew something was wrong. The diagnosis came in 2022, Alzheimer's disease, moderate stage, progressing. Dorothy's journal entries became shorter, less frequent, her handwriting less steady. The disease was affecting her ability to write, to organize thoughts. The last entry was from 2023. It said, "I'm forgetting things now, important things. Sometimes I don't remember Michael at all. Don't remember we had a son. Other times I remember clearly. Remember he's alive. Remember Russell lied. Remember everything. But I know soon I won't. Soon the disease will take these memories too. I need to tell Russell I know. Need to have that conversation before I can't. Before I forget why I'm angry. Before I forget Michael altogether. But I'm scared. Scared of the conversation. Scared of what it means for us. Scared I'm running out of time." That was the last entry, written 14 months ago, before Dorothy moved to the care facility, before her decline accelerated, before she lost the ability to write coherently. She'd been planning to tell me, had been working up the courage, but the disease had moved faster than her courage, until last week, until that moment of clarity, when she'd finally told me, finally admitted she knew, finally had the conversation she'd been planning for years. I closed the journal and called the care facility, asked to speak to Dorothy's doctor. Dr. Martinez was a geriatric psychiatrist who specialized in Alzheimer's. She'd been treating Dorothy for the past 6 months. I told her about Dorothy's moment of clarity, about what she'd said, about the journal I'd found. Dr. Martinez said she wanted to meet with me, that we needed to discuss Dorothy's case, that there were complications beyond the Alzheimer's. We met the next day. Dr. Martinez said Dorothy's dementia had revealed something unexpected, something she'd been monitoring but hadn't been sure about, something that changed Dorothy's diagnosis. She said Dorothy didn't just have Alzheimer's, she also had severe depression, long-term, probably decades. The depression had been masked by Dorothy's ability to function, by her social skills and her coping mechanisms. But as the Alzheimer's stripped away her ability to mask, the depression became obvious. Dr. Martinez said depression and Alzheimer's often coexisted, but in Dorothy's case, the depression seemed to predate the dementia by years, maybe decades. She asked if Dorothy had experienced any major trauma or loss that might have triggered long-term depression. I thought about the journal, about Dorothy discovering Michael was alive in 2009, learning I'd been lying to her for 15 years, grieving our son all over again, carrying that secret for 15 years while I remained oblivious. Yes, she'd experienced trauma, significant trauma, and I'd caused it. Dr. Martinez said long-term untreated depression could accelerate cognitive decline, could make dementia worse, could even mimic dementia symptoms. She said some of Dorothy's memory problems might have been depression-related rather than Alzheimer's-related, that if the depression had been treated years ago, Dorothy's cognitive decline might have been slower. She might have had more good years, more time before the disease took over. I asked if the depression was treatable now, if there was anything we could do. Dr. Martinez said with dementia this advanced, treating depression was difficult. The medications that might help with depression could worsen dementia symptoms, and Dorothy was beyond the point where therapy would help. Her cognitive abilities were too compromised. She couldn't engage in the kind of processing therapy required. We'd missed the window. If Dorothy had gotten help 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, things might be different. But now it was too late. I left Dr. Martinez's office feeling devastated. I hadn't just lied to Dorothy about Michael. My lies had contributed to her developing depression. The depression had likely accelerated her Alzheimer's. My decision to keep Michael secret, to tell Dorothy he was dead, to visit him alone for 30 years, had literally damaged my wife's brain, had stolen years of her life, had made her decline faster and harder than it needed to be. I went to visit Dorothy that afternoon. She didn't recognize me, thought I was a doctor, asked when she could go home, didn't remember living in the facility, didn't remember her diagnosis, didn't remember our conversation from a week earlier. The moment of clarity was gone. Dorothy was lost in confusion again, might never find her way back. I sat with her anyway, held her hand even though she didn't know who I was, told her about my day even though she wouldn't remember. Just being present, just being there, it was all I could offer now, all I had left to give. After the visit, I drove to Riverside Psychiatric Hospital, my monthly visit to Michael. I'd been making this drive for 30 years, once a month, every month, never missing. It was a 2-hour drive from my house, 4 hours round trip, plus the visit time. Usually took half a day. I'd told Dorothy I was visiting my brother. Then, after my brother died, I'd said I was visiting a friend. Then later, just errands, running around, vague explanations Dorothy never questioned. Or I thought she hadn't questioned. Turns out she'd been questioning them for 15 years, just not out loud. Riverside was a sprawling campus. Multiple buildings, high security, fences, guards, controlled access. You couldn't just walk in, had to sign in, show ID, explain who you were visiting, wait to be escorted. It felt like a prison. In many ways, it was. A prison for people whose illness had made them dangerous. I signed in. Russell Holland visiting Michael Holland, like I'd done hundreds of times. The guard checked my ID, verified I was on the approved visitor list, called for an escort, standard procedure. I'd been through it so many times it was automatic, but today felt different. Knowing Dorothy had been here, had followed me, had stood in this lobby learning our son was alive, had tried to visit him and been turned away, had gone home to process this revelation alone while I remained oblivious. The escort took me to Michael's unit, the maximum security psychiatric wing. Locked doors, staff supervision, cameras everywhere. Patients here were considered dangerous, were being treated but also contained, protected from themselves and protecting society from them. Michael's room was small, institutional, bed, desk, chair, bathroom, window with bars. He'd been living here for 30 years, since he was 19 years old. He was 49 now, would turn 50 in 3 months, had spent more than half his life in this hospital, would probably spend the rest of his life here too. Michael was sitting on his bed when I arrived. He looked up when I came in, recognition in his eyes. He knew me. Dad. He smiled, asked how I was. Normal greeting. We had these monthly visits, had been having them for decades. Michael was medicated, stable. The psychosis was controlled. He wasn't having delusions anymore, wasn't violent, was just a middle-aged man with schizophrenia living in a psychiatric hospital because of something he'd done 30 years ago. We talked for an hour. I told Michael about my life, about ordinary things, work I'd done on the house, books I'd been reading, news from the neighborhood. I didn't mention Dorothy, didn't tell Michael his mother had Alzheimer's, that she was in a care facility, that she'd had a moment of clarity, and revealed she'd known about him for 15 years. Michael didn't need that burden. He had enough to carry. Michael told me about his life at Riverside, the routine, the therapy groups, the medications, the other patients. He'd made a few friends over the years, people who'd been there as long as he had. They looked out for each other, tried to make the best of a difficult situation. Michael seemed okay, not happy, but not miserable either. Just existing, living the only life available to him. Before I left, Michael asked about Mom. He always asked. I told him years ago that Dorothy thought he was dead, that I'd decided it was better that way, that telling her would hurt her too much. Michael had accepted it, had understood my reasoning, had agreed it was probably for the best, but he still asked about her, still wanted to know how she was, still missed his mother even though they hadn't seen each other in 30 years. I told Michael that Mom was doing okay. Same thing I always said, kept it vague, kept it positive, didn't mention the Alzheimer's, didn't mention that she was forgetting everything, that soon she wouldn't remember him at all, even the memories she'd had, the grief she'd carried, the secret she'd kept, would all be gone. Michael would effectively not exist for her anymore. He'd be erased by disease just as effectively as he'd been erased by my lies. Michael seemed satisfied with my answer, didn't push for details, never did. He'd learned over the years not to ask too many questions about the outside world, about the life he couldn't be part of. It was easier to accept the limited information I gave him, to not dwell on everything he was missing, to focus on his life here rather than the life he couldn't have. I drove home thinking about the three of us, me, Dorothy, Michael, connected by blood and love and terrible secrets, each of us carrying knowledge the others didn't know we had. Me knowing Michael was alive while Dorothy thought he was dead. Dorothy knowing Michael was alive while thinking I didn't know she knew. Michael knowing Dorothy thought he was dead but not knowing she'd discovered the truth. A triangle of secrets, of hidden knowledge, of lies and isolation and pain we each bore alone. What would have happened if I'd told Dorothy the truth in 1994? If I'd explained what Michael had done, that he was sick, that he'd been committed? Would she have been able to handle it? Would she have wanted to visit him? Would our marriage have survived the strain of having a son in a psychiatric hospital? I'd thought at the time that telling her would destroy her, that knowing Michael had attacked someone would break her, that she'd blame herself, blame us, wonder what we'd done wrong, how we'd missed the signs, why we hadn't gotten him help sooner. I'd thought protecting her from that knowledge was the right thing, the kind thing, the merciful thing. But I'd been wrong. Dorothy had been stronger than I'd given her credit for. When she'd discovered the truth on her own, she'd processed it, had come to understand, had even forgiven me for lying. She could have handled the truth if I'd told her, could have helped carry the burden, could have visited Michael, could have maintained a relationship with our son even in his diminished state. Instead, I'd made the decision alone, had kept her separate from this part of our lives, had visited Michael monthly while Dorothy grieved a son she thought was dead, had let her carry that grief unnecessarily, had stolen 15 years she could have had with Michael, even if those years were just monthly visits to a psychiatric hospital. Even if Michael wasn't the son she'd raised, he was still her child. She'd deserved the choice, and now she was losing the ability to make any choices. The Alzheimer's was taking everything, her memories, her personality, her ability to recognize the people she loved. Soon she'd be gone completely, still alive, but not really present, just a body going through motions, a shell of who she'd been, and I couldn't fix it. Couldn't undo the damage my lies had contributed to. Couldn't give her back the years she'd lost. Our daughter Amanda called that evening. She lives in California. We talk every week. She'd been planning to visit next month, wanted to see Dorothy, wanted to spend time with her mother before the disease progressed further. I told Amanda we needed to talk, that there were things I needed to tell her, things she didn't know about her family, things I should have told her 30 years ago. Amanda flew in 2 days later. We met at my house. I showed her Dorothy's journal, told her about the moment of clarity, about what Dorothy had revealed, about Michael being alive, about the psychiatric hospital, about 30 years of lies, about everything. Amanda sat in silence for a long time after I finished. Then she asked if she could visit Michael, if she could see her brother. I told her yes, that I'd add her to the approved visitor list, that we could go together if she wanted, that Michael would probably like to see her, that he still remembered his little sister, even though they hadn't seen each other since he was 19, and she was 15. Amanda asked why. Why had I lied? Why had I kept them apart? Why had I told her Michael was dead when he was alive? I tried to explain. About wanting to protect her. About Michael being dangerous. About the attack. About not wanting her to be scared of her brother. About thinking it was easier if she grieved him once, rather than visiting him in a psychiatric hospital for the rest of her life. Amanda said I'd stolen her right to know her brother, that Michael had been sick, had done something terrible, but he was still her brother. She'd loved him, had grieved him, had spent 30 years thinking he was dead, wondering what he'd have become, what their relationship would have been, all while he was alive 60 miles away, all while I'd been visiting him, all while I'd been keeping them separated. She was right. I'd made decisions for everyone, decided what Dorothy could handle, what Amanda needed to know, what was best for them without consulting them, without trusting them to make their own choices. I'd been controlling, patronizing, had treated the women in my life like they needed protection from difficult truths, when really they'd needed honesty, partnership, trust. Amanda asked about Mom's depression, whether keeping Michael's secret had caused it. I told her what Dr. Martinez had said, that Dorothy had likely been depressed for years, that discovering the truth about Michael without being able to confront me about it had probably triggered or worsened the depression, that the untreated depression might have accelerated her Alzheimer's, that my lies had literally damaged Dorothy's brain. Amanda started crying, said she'd noticed Mom seeming sad over the years, withdrawn sometimes, but she'd thought it was just Mom being quiet, just her personality, not depression, not mental illness. If she'd known, she could have suggested Mom get help, could have supported her, could have done something, but she hadn't known because I'd kept everything secret, had kept everyone isolated from the truth. We sat together crying, for Dorothy losing her mind, for Michael losing his freedom, for Amanda losing 30 years with her brother, for all of us losing the family we could have been, if I'd been honest, if I'd trusted them, if I'd let them make their own choices about how to handle Michael's illness and what he'd done. Amanda asked if we could visit Michael together. I said yes. We went that weekend, Saturday morning, 2-hour drive. Amanda was quiet most of the way, nervous about seeing her brother, about what he'd be like, about whether he'd remember her. At Riverside, I signed us both in, added Amanda to Michael's approved visitor list. The guard processed the paperwork, said Amanda could visit any time now, just needed to call ahead and schedule. Standard procedure for new visitors. Michael was surprised to see Amanda, shocked. He stood up when we came into his room, stared at her, said, "Amanda, is that really you?" She nodded, said yes, said, "I'm sorry it took so long," said, "I just found out you were alive, that I thought you were dead. The dad just told me the truth." Michael looked at me, confused. I'd told him Dorothy thought he was dead, had never mentioned lying to Amanda too, never explained that I'd told everyone he'd died, that I'd made the whole family grieve him unnecessarily. Michael had thought it was just Dorothy, just one lie, not a whole web of deception that had affected everyone. Michael said to me, "You told Amanda I was dead too, and she believed it? For 30 years? He seemed hurt, more hurt than I'd expected. I'd thought Michael understood why I'd lied, but apparently he'd only understood lying to Dorothy. Lying to his little sister was different, more painful, more of a betrayal. Amanda and Michael talked for 2 hours, catching up on 30 years. Amanda told him about her life, college, career, marriage, her kids, Michael's nieces and nephews he'd never met. Michael told her about Riverside, about therapy, about the medications, about learning to manage his illness, about the life he'd built in this unlikely place. They talked about the attack, the thing Michael had done, the reason he was here. Michael said he didn't remember it clearly. The psychosis had made his memories unreliable. He remembered pieces, fragments, but not the whole incident. He knew what he'd done because he'd been told. because he'd read the court documents, but his own memory was incomplete, distorted by delusions he'd been having at the time. Michael said he was sorry, that he knew what he'd done was terrible, that the woman he'd attacked had been innocent, that his illness wasn't an excuse, that he was grateful for the treatment he'd received here, that the medication and therapy had saved his life, had made him capable of living again even if that life was confined to a psychiatric hospital. Amanda asked if Michael would ever get out, if he'd ever be released. Michael said probably not, that his illness was chronic, that even with medication he had symptoms, that he'd always be somewhat dangerous, that the doctors reviewed his case every year, that every year they determined he still needed to be here, that he'd accepted this was his life now, that Riverside was his home, that he'd probably die here someday. That broke Amanda's heart. I could see it. Her brother wasn't going to have a normal life, wasn't going to get married or have kids or pursue a career. He was going to live in this hospital until he died, all because of an illness he couldn't control, all because his brain had betrayed him when he was 19 years old. Before we left, Michael asked about Dorothy, about Mom. Amanda looked at me, waiting to see what I'd say, whether I'd tell him the truth. I took a breath and told Michael everything, about Dorothy's Alzheimer's, about her being in a care facility, about the moment of clarity when she'd revealed she'd known he was alive for 15 years, about how she'd kept my secret while I kept mine, about how she was losing her memory now, about how soon she wouldn't remember him at all. Michael cried. Real tears, deep grief for his mother losing her mind. For the 15 years she'd known he was alive, but hadn't been able to visit. For all the time they'd lost. For the fact that she'd die without them ever seeing each other again. Without him being able to tell her he was sorry. Without her being able to tell him she loved him. Amanda asked if we could bring Mom to visit. If Dorothy could see Michael one more time before the disease took everything. I said I'd ask, that I'd talk to Dorothy's doctors, see if it was possible, see if Dorothy could handle the visit, see if Michael could handle seeing his mother in her diminished state. Dr. Martinez said a visit might be possible, but she warned that Dorothy might not recognize Michael, might not remember having a son, might become confused or agitated. She said if we did this, we needed to be prepared for the visit to be difficult, for Dorothy to possibly not know who Michael was, for her to potentially be upset by the unfamiliar environment and strange people. But Dr. Martinez also said Dorothy might have another moment of clarity, might recognize Michael, might have a few minutes of connection before the disease pulled her away again. She said sometimes familiar people or places triggered memories. Sometimes patients had brief moments where they were themselves again. We couldn't count on it, but it was possible. We decided to try, to bring Dorothy to Riverside, to let her see Michael one more time, to give them a chance at goodbye even if Dorothy didn't remember it later, even if it was painful and difficult. They deserved that chance, deserved one final moment together before Alzheimer's took even the possibility away. The visit was scheduled for the following Saturday. Amanda and I picked Dorothy up from the care facility, told her we were going for a drive, going to visit someone. Dorothy seemed happy about the outing, loved car rides, loved seeing different places even though she'd forget them immediately. During the drive, we tried to prepare Dorothy, told her we were going to see Michael, her son, that he was alive, that he'd been sick but was getting treatment. Dorothy listened but seemed confused, asked who Michael was, said she didn't have a son. The disease had taken that memory. She didn't remember having a child at all. At Riverside, we signed in, explained Dorothy's condition to the guards. They were understanding, said they'd had family visits like this before, patients with dementia coming to see relatives. It was always emotional, always difficult, but sometimes meaningful despite the cognitive limitations. Michael was waiting in a common room, rather than his room. More space, more comfortable for a visit. When we brought Dorothy in, Michael stood up. He looked at his mother. Dorothy looked at him. No recognition. She smiled politely, asked who this nice young man was. Didn't know him, didn't see her son, just saw a stranger being kind to her. Michael tried talking to her, said, "Mom, it's me, Michael, your son." Dorothy looked confused, said she didn't have a son, said she was sorry but she didn't know who he was. Michael's face crumbled, watching his mother look at him with no recognition, seeing that she'd truly forgotten him, that the disease had erased him from her memory completely. Amanda tried to help, pulled out old photos, pictures of Michael as a child, as a teenager, pictures of Dorothy holding baby Michael, pictures of our family together. Tried to use the photos to trigger something, some memory, some connection. Dorothy looked at the photos with mild interest, said what a nice family, said the baby was cute, didn't recognize herself, didn't recognize Michael. didn't see that these were her memories, her life, her son. We sat there for 30 minutes, Michael trying to connect with Dorothy, Dorothy being pleasant but distant, treating him like a friendly stranger. No breakthrough, no moment of clarity, no recognition. Just a woman with dementia talking to a man she didn't know. Then something changed. Dorothy was looking at Michael, really looking at him. Her expression shifted, her eyes focused. She reached out and touched his face. She said, "Michael? Is that you? You've gotten so old. When did you grow up?" Michael started crying. Said, "Yes, Mom. It's me. I'm here." Dorothy said, "Where have you been? I've been looking for you. I thought you were gone." Michael said, "I've been here, Mom. I've been here the whole time." Dorothy said, "I missed you so much. I thought I'd lost you." For 5 minutes, Dorothy was present, was herself. She talked to Michael, asked about his life, told him she loved him, told him she was sorry she couldn't visit more, told him she'd wanted to but couldn't, that Dad had kept them apart, that she'd been angry about it, but that she understood, that she knew Michael was sick, that she knew why it had happened this way, that she forgave everyone, that she just wanted Michael to know she'd always loved him, always would. No matter what, Michael told Dorothy he loved her too, that he was sorry for everything, sorry for getting sick, sorry for what he'd done, sorry for all the pain he'd caused, sorry she was sick now, sorry they'd lost so many years, but grateful for this moment, grateful to see her one more time, grateful to tell her goodbye. Dorothy smiled, said, "It's okay, baby. Everything's okay. You did your best. I know you did. I'm proud of you." Then her eyes changed. The clarity faded. She looked at Michael, confused again, asked who he was, asked why she was here, asked when she could go home. The moment was over. We left shortly after. Dorothy was getting agitated, didn't like being in an unfamiliar place, wanted to go back to the care facility, back to her routine, back to where things felt safe and familiar. We said goodbye to Michael. He hugged Amanda, hugged me, looked at Dorothy one last time. She smiled at him politely. No recognition, no memory of the conversation they'd just had, no knowledge that this was her son saying goodbye. In the car, Dorothy asked where we'd been. We told her we'd been visiting a friend. She said that was nice, asked what we were doing next, had already forgotten the visit, forgotten Michael, forgotten everything. The disease had taken it all. We took Dorothy back to the care facility. She seemed happy to be back, recognized her room, settled in comfortably, asked when we'd visit again. We said soon, said we'd come back tomorrow. She said okay, then asked who we were. Amanda told her, said, "I'm your daughter." Dorothy said, "Oh, that's nice," smiled, but didn't really understand. Didn't connect Amanda to any memories of having a daughter, just accepted the information and moved on. Amanda and I sat in the parking lot afterward, both of us crying, for Dorothy losing everything, for Michael locked in a hospital, for the 5 minutes they'd had together, 5 minutes of clarity in 30 years of separation, 5 minutes of connection before Alzheimer's took even that away. It was so little, so insufficient, but it was all they'd get, their only goodbye, their final moment as mother and son. Amanda said she'd keep visiting Michael, that she'd come from California every few months, that she'd maintain the relationship I'd prevented them from having, that Michael deserved family, deserved connection, deserved to not be alone in that hospital. I told her thank you, that Michael would appreciate it, that I should have made this possible years ago, that I was sorry for keeping them apart. Amanda said she was angry at me, that she'd probably be angry for a long time, that what I'd done had hurt everyone, but that she also understood I'd been trying to protect people, that my intentions had been good even if my choices were wrong, that she'd work on forgiving me, but it would take time, a lot of time. I understood. Told her I didn't deserve forgiveness, that I'd made terrible choices, that I'd let fear and control drive my decisions instead of trust and honesty, that I'd damaged everyone I loved by trying to protect them, that I'd have to live with that, with knowing my lies had contributed to Dorothy's depression, had accelerated her Alzheimer's, had stolen years from her and Michael, had kept Amanda from her brother, all because I'd thought I knew best, thought I could decide for everyone what they could handle. Over the next few weeks, Dorothy's condition worsened. The visit to Riverside had stirred something. Memories, maybe. Emotions. She became more agitated, more confused. The doctors increased her medications, adjusted her care plan, but she was declining rapidly. Dr. Martinez said this sometimes happened. A major event could accelerate decline. The visit to Michael, even though Dorothy didn't consciously remember it, had impacted her, had disturbed whatever fragile equilibrium she'd maintained. Dorothy stopped recognizing anyone. Not me, not Amanda, not the staff at the care facility. She existed in a permanent state of confusion. sometimes scared, sometimes calm, but always lost. Always looking for something or someone she couldn't name. Always asking questions that had no answers. When am I going home? Where's my mother? Why am I here? Questions that revealed how completely the disease had taken her. I visited every day, sat with her even though she didn't know me, held her hand even though she'd pull away sometimes, talked to her even though she couldn't follow conversation, just being present, just refusing to abandon her even though she'd forgotten me. It was all I could do, all I had left. Amanda came to visit, stayed for a week. We visited Dorothy together, visited Michael together, tried to be the family we should have been. The family we could have been if I'd been honest 30 years ago. It was too late to fix everything, too late to undo the damage, but we could try to move forward, try to support each other, try to honor Dorothy and Michael by being connected now, even though I'd kept them separated before. Michael told Amanda stories about growing up, about being a kid, about our family before his illness, about memories Dorothy couldn't access anymore. Amanda recorded them, said she'd preserve these stories, share them with her kids, keep Michael's history alive even though he couldn't be part of their lives directly. She said Michael deserved to be remembered, to be part of the family narrative, not erased because of illness and lies. I wrote letters to both Michael and Amanda, apologizing, explaining, not excusing but trying to make them understand my thinking, how fear had driven my choices, how I'd convinced myself lying was protection, how I'd genuinely believed I was doing the right thing. I told them I'd been wrong, catastrophically wrong, that my lies had damaged everyone, that I was sorry, so deeply sorry, that I'd spend whatever time I had left trying to make amends, trying to be honest, trying to trust them to make their own choices. Dorothy died on a Tuesday in April, peaceful, in her sleep. She'd stopped eating the week before, had been transitioning. The hospice nurses said it wouldn't be long. Amanda flew in. Michael couldn't come, wasn't allowed to leave Riverside, but I called him, let him say goodbye over the phone even though Dorothy couldn't hear him, even though she was unconscious. I told him Dorothy loved him, that she'd always loved him, that her last clear moments had been telling him that. That had to be enough. The funeral was small, just Amanda and me, a few neighbors, some people from Dorothy's book club, Dorothy's brother and his family, people who'd known her for years, who'd watched her decline, who'd visited her at the care facility, who'd grieved as the disease took her piece by piece. I gave the eulogy, talked about Dorothy's life, about who she'd been before Alzheimer's, about her kindness and strength, about how she'd carried impossible burdens with grace, about how she'd kept secrets to protect the people she loved, about how she'd been better than me, more forgiving, more understanding, more willing to accept complexity and pain without needing to control everything. I didn't mention Michael at the funeral, couldn't figure out how to explain. But afterward, Amanda and I went to Riverside, brought Michael a photo of Dorothy from the funeral, let him participate in saying goodbye even though he couldn't be there. Michael cried, said he wished he could have been there, wished he could have helped bury his mother, wished he wasn't locked up in a hospital missing all the important moments. I told Michael I was sorry for all of it, sorry for lying, sorry for keeping him from Dorothy, sorry for keeping him from Amanda, sorry for making decisions that hurt everyone, sorry for letting fear control me, sorry for 30 years of mistakes. Michael said he forgave me, said he understood I'd been scared, that I'd been trying to protect everyone, that I'd done the best I could even though it wasn't good enough, that we were family, that family forgave each other. Amanda said she forgave me too, eventually. It took months. We had hard conversations, painful conversations, conversations where she told me how angry she was, how betrayed she felt, how my lies had damaged her, had made her question what else I'd lied about, had made her question if she'd ever really known me at all. I listened, accepted it, didn't defend myself, just acknowledged that she was right, that I'd hurt her, that I deserved her anger. Slowly, Amanda and I rebuilt our relationship, based on honesty this time, based on trust. I told her everything about my visits to Michael over the years, showed her Dorothy's journals, let her read everything, held nothing back, proved through transparency that I was different now, that I'd learned, that I wouldn't keep secrets anymore. Amanda visits Michael regularly now, every few months. She's building a relationship with her brother, getting to know him as an adult, understanding his illness, understanding what his life is like. She brings her kids sometimes, Michael's nieces and nephews. They're cautious at first, nervous about the psychiatric hospital, about their uncle who they'd been told was dead. But Michael is gentle with them, patient. good with kids despite everything. The kids grow to accept him, to see him as part of their family, to not be scared. I still visit Michael monthly. 49 years old now, has been at Riverside for 30 years, will probably be there for the rest of his life. His doctors say he's doing well, managing his illness, participating in therapy, being a model patient, but he's still too dangerous to release. Still has symptoms even with medication. Still needs the structure and supervision the hospital provides. Michael has accepted his situation, has built a life within the limitations, has friends, hobbies, routines. He reads extensively, writes poetry, helps other patients who are struggling. He's made peace with what happened, with what he did, with what he lost. He says he's grateful for the treatment, grateful to be alive, grateful to have reconnected with Amanda, grateful for the relationship we've rebuilt. Even if his life isn't what it could have been, it's still worth living. I'm 72 years old now. Dorothy has been gone for 6 months. I live alone in the house we shared for 48 years. Every day I'm reminded of her, of our life together, of the secrets we both kept, of the damage those secrets caused, of the 15 years she knew about Michael and never told me, of the 30 years I kept Michael from her, of how we both tried to protect each other and ended up hurting each other instead. I think about Dorothy's moment of clarity often. That 5-minute conversation where she told me she knew, where she explained that she'd figured it out 15 years earlier, where she said she'd forgiven me, but needed me to know she'd known. It was such a brief moment, but it changed everything. Revealed truths I'd thought were hidden, showed me that my careful deceptions had been seen through years ago, that Dorothy had been carrying my secret while I carried hers, that we'd both been protecting each other from truths we thought would destroy us. The truth did destroy some things, destroyed my illusions about being in control, destroyed my belief that I could protect people by lying to them, destroyed my marriage in some ways. The last years Dorothy had been cognitive enough to understand who I was. She'd been living with knowledge of my betrayal, knowledge she couldn't share, because sharing it would mean confronting me, would mean admitting she'd been following me, would mean having difficult conversations she wasn't ready for. But the truth also created something, created honesty between Amanda and me, created a relationship between Amanda and Michael, created understanding between Michael and me, created space for forgiveness, created opportunities for real connection based on reality rather than comfortable fictions. I've learned that protection and control aren't love, that keeping secrets to spare someone pain just creates different pain, that people are stronger than we give them credit for, that they deserve the truth even when it's hard, that they deserve the chance to make their own choices, that treating them like they can't handle reality is disrespectful, patronizing, damaging. If I could go back to 1994, I'd do everything differently. I'd tell Dorothy what Michael had done. I'd let her visit him. I'd let Amanda know her brother was alive. I'd face the pain together with my family instead of trying to bear it alone. I'd trust them. I'd be honest. I'd let them decide how to handle the situation instead of deciding for them. But I can't go back. Can only move forward. Can only try to be different now. Can only maintain the honesty I've built with Amanda. Can only keep visiting Michael. Can only keep working to repair the damage my lies caused. Can only keep learning to trust, to be vulnerable, to let people make their own choices even when I'm scared of what they'll choose. Dorothy kept my secret for 15 years, kept it knowing it was hurting her, kept it because she understood, in some way, why I'd done what I'd done, kept it because confronting me would mean confronting 30 years of lies, would mean tearing apart everything we'd built. So she chose to live with the knowledge quietly, to carry the burden alone, to protect our marriage while sacrificing her own peace. That was an act of love. Misguided maybe, painful certainly, but love nonetheless. Dorothy loved me enough to live with difficult truth, to forgive me without confronting me, to keep my secret while I kept hers. We were both trying to protect each other, both failing, both causing harm while trying to prevent it, but both loving, both committed, both trying our best even when our best wasn't good enough. I visit Dorothy's grave weekly. Tell her things. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I understand now what she carried. Tell her I wish I'd been honest. Tell her I wish she'd confronted me. Tell her I wish we'd faced everything together instead of separately. Tell her I love her. Always have. Always will. Despite the lies. Despite the pain. Despite everything. I tell her about Amanda and Michael. About how they're building a relationship. About how Amanda brings her kids to visit. about how Michael writes poetry now, about how our family is healing slowly, about how truth is painful but necessary, about how I'm trying to be different, about how I'm learning to trust, about how I'm working to make amends for 30 years of mistakes. I tell her about the moment of clarity, about how grateful I am that she had it, that she told me she knew, that she explained what she'd been carrying, that she forgave me, that last gift she gave me, that last moment of honesty, that final truth before the disease took everything. The dementia took Dorothy's memories, took her ability to know me, took her ability to remember Michael, took everything that made her who she was. But it also gave her something in that final moment, gave her clarity to speak truth, gave her courage to admit what she'd known, gave her freedom to finally confront the secret she'd been carrying for 15 years, gave us both a moment of complete honesty before the end. I'm grateful for that moment, painful as it was, devastating as the revelations were. I'm grateful Dorothy told me, grateful I know she knew, grateful to understand what she carried, grateful to know she forgave me even though I didn't deserve forgiveness, grateful for truth even though it came 30 years too late. Michael said something to me last week that's been staying with me. He said, "Dad, you spent 30 years trying to protect us from pain, but pain finds us anyway. You can't prevent it. You can only choose whether to face it together or alone. You chose alone. You made all of us face our pain alone. That was the real damage, not what happened to me, not what I did, but that you isolated us from each other, made us carry our burdens separately. That's what hurt most." He's right. The illness happened. The attack happened. Michael's commitment happened. Those were tragedies, terrible things that changed all our lives, but I made them worse by lying, by keeping secrets, by separating everyone, by deciding I was the only one who could handle the truth, by treating Dorothy and Amanda like they needed protection rather than partnership. I can't fix what I broke. Can't give Dorothy back her mind. Can't give Michael back his freedom. Can't give Amanda back 30 years with her brother. Can't undo any of it. Can only acknowledge it. Can only apologize. Can only try to be different going forward. Can only maintain honesty. Can only trust people to handle their own lives. Can only let go of control and accept that I can't protect people from pain. Can only be present when pain comes instead of trying to prevent it through lies. That's what I'm learning at 72. Lessons I should have learned at 42. Lessons that came 30 years too late to save my wife from depression. Too late to give my son 30 years of family connection. Too late to spare my daughter decades of unnecessary grief. But not too late to change. Not too late to be honest. Not too late to build real relationships based on truth rather than comfortable fictions. Dorothy's dementia gave us one moment of truth, 5 minutes of clarity in years of confusion. 5 minutes where she told me she knew, where she explained what she'd carried, where she forgave me, where we were completely honest with each other for the first time in decades. It was so brief, so insufficient, but it was also everything. The truth I'd been hiding, the truth she'd been hiding. All of it revealed in one moment of clarity before the disease took her away completely. I'm grateful for that moment. Grateful Dorothy had the courage to use her brief clarity to tell me truth. Grateful she didn't let the disease take that secret with her. Grateful to know what she knew, what she'd carried, what she'd forgiven. Grateful for honesty, even though it came at the end, even though it came too late to change anything, even though all it could do was reveal how much damage had been done. Truth matters, even painful truth, even devastating truth, even truth that comes too late. Truth matters because lies damage, because secrets poison, because protecting people from reality doesn't protect them at all, just isolates them, just makes them face reality alone instead of together, just creates the illusion of protection while causing real harm. That's what I learned from Dorothy's moment of clarity, from her revelation that she'd known, from understanding what my lies had cost, from seeing how my attempts at protection had created the very pain I'd been trying to prevent, from recognizing that the Alzheimer's, in taking Dorothy's memories, had also freed her. To speak truth she'd been too scared to speak while she was well. Did you like my story? Which country are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next story, with love and respect.